Alright, welcome back to a brand new video. So in this video, you're going to learn how to create a Discord bot that allows users to verify themselves on a server. So essentially the way it works is you'll have a guest channel that all new users will see, and that will be the only channel that they can see. And then you can have whatever information you want. You can have your server rules, information, etc., etc. And they should be able to click on a button, and when they click on the button, it will grant them access to the rest of the server. So for example, if you see over here, I have a private channel, and only myself, because I'm the server owner, and one of my other bots can see this channel. Now let me remove this bot role real quick, so that will get rid of the permissions. So you can see no one else can see this channel. Now the only way they can access this channel is if they have a verified role. And you'll learn how to configure the permissions too to get it to work. But let's go over to the welcome channel, and let's go ahead and click verify. And you can see that when I click verify, let's see, it says something is wrong. Oh, you know what it is? I actually removed the permissions to the bot to manage roles. So let's do that again. Okay, so you see right now I don't have any roles, but if I click on this verify button, you're going to see that it gives me the verified role, which means that I should be able to see all of the private channels. That's just how we're going to set it up. Okay, so these systems are great for preventing people from raiding your server, because if you just don't have a system like this, people can just automatically join and they can just spam, and it's not good. And adding this layer of security could also help your server from, being raided or having people DM spam. So it's definitely recommended you have something like this. But let's go ahead and jump right into the tutorial. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with our project. So I already have a standard project already that has been set up with TypeScript. And we haven't really done anything aside from just importing a couple of dependencies, creating the instance of the client and the REST class, and just writing a simple async function that is going to be called when we run the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log the bot in. So we do that by calling client.login. And for the token, I'm using the .env package, and this line over here, import .env/config, basically we'll import all of our environment variables stored inside this .env file. So we can actually reference these variables by referencing the global process.env object, and then we can just reference the name of the environment variable, so bot_token in our situation. But I'm also going to need to set this token for the REST client as well. So let me go ahead and just store this inside a variable. So I'll actually just destructure it from the process.env object, just like that. And I'll pass that into the REST client. And I'm going to go ahead and just assert this with an exclamation mark, which means that we know that this will be defined. And we'll do the same thing here. Okay. We'll also go ahead and grab the client ID, which is also another environment variable that we defined. And we'll also grab the guild ID as well, because we will need that to register the / command, which I'm going to do right now. So we're going to go ahead and call rest.put, and we need to pass in the route that we want to call to the Discord API, which is going to be the one to register / commands. So I'm going to go ahead and import this routes constant. So that's going to be imported from the Discord.js package. We're going to call the application guild commands function, and this is just going to return a formatted endpoint string that is going to call the correct URL for the Discord API to register / commands. Okay, so we need to pass in 2 arguments for this function. We're going to pass in the client ID first, and then the guild ID second. And then the second parameter for rest.put is going to be request data, and we just need to pass in a request body, which is just going to be an array of the / command in JSON format, so we can actually register the / commands. Now it's complaining about this. I'm just also going to go ahead and just assert this as well as this. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we just need to await this call, so we know that we're going to call this first, wait for this to finish, and then we'll log the bot in. And I'll also wait that call too. Okay, So now that we have actually registered, or not registered, but we've actually called this endpoint, we need to actually create the slash command. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'll do is I'll just import the slash command builder class, and I'm going to use this class to create a slash command. And the first thing that I'll do is I'll call set name. And the name of this command is just going to be, we'll just call this something like setup. And then set description, setup the welcome channel bot. And really all this is going to do is it's just going to send a message to the channel with the message and a button where users will be able to react to the button. And when they react to it, they will be able to receive a role, and that role is going to allow them to see the rest of the server. So that's why we're creating this slash command. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to set permissions for this command. And I'm only going to allow, I'm only going to allow administrators. So I'm going to import the permission flags bits, and I'm going to select administrator, because I only want admins being able to use this command. And finally, we're going to add an option for this command. So we want the user to specify which channel that they want to send the message in. So I'll go ahead and do add channel option, and we'll pass in the callback function. And then for the option, we'll set the name. So you can think of the option as an argument, and we'll set the name of this argument to channel. We'll set the description, and we'll say the channel to send the message to. And we'll add channel types, and we'll only allow channel types of guild text. So I'm going to import that enum channel type, and that's going to be imported up top over here. And I'm going to reference the guild text. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and actually start up our application. Before I do that, let me register the ready event so we know the bot is logged in and ready to listen to events. Bot is logged in. Okay. And there we go. Let's go ahead and start up our project. So let's do nodemon./source index.ts. And like I said, I already have all of the dependencies installed already. Okay, and the code will be on a GitHub repository, and I'll leave the link to that GitHub repository in the description of this video. Let's see what's going on over here. I think I may have okay, yeah, I think I know what's going on. I think I'm using the global version of TS Node and nodemon. So let me actually just set up a script real quick. So start :dev nodemon. Yeah, because I do have nodemon installed globally as well as TS Node, and I might be using the older version of it. So let's use the local version that I installed beforehand. And you could just install this by just doing yarn add or npm I, and then you do the -d flag and the name of the dependency. But let me just go ahead and do yarn run start dev. And again, you would do npm run start dev if you were using npm. But I'm using yarn for this video, so that's why. But if you're using npm, just do npm run start dev. So bot is logged in, and let's just go ahead to our server, and let's do /. And you can see that we have this /setup command right over here. Let me zoom in a little bit. And you can see that we have the channel, and then we can select whatever channel we want. So what happens is when we go ahead and use that command, right? If I were to go ahead and use that command, then it's supposed to send a message to the channel that we want to send it to, and then it's supposed to attach a button to it. Okay? So now in order to actually handle the / command, we need to listen to the interaction create event. So client on, we'll call this method, and we want to pass in the event that we want to listen to. So the name is interaction create, and it takes in a callback function, and the argument is the interaction object for that callback function. And since we're working with slash commands, we want to go ahead and check to see if the interaction is a chat command. So we'll call the isChat input command method on the interaction object. And if it is, then we'll also additionally check what the name of that command was. So you can use an if condition or a switch case. So I'll just use a switch case. And the condition will be the command name, like this. And then we just set up a case. So the case for the setup. And before I forget, I'll just add a break statement at the end over here. Okay, so what we want to do, if the case is set up, we want to go ahead and send a message to the channel that they had provided as the argument for the option. So we can get the channel by doing this. We can reference the interaction object, and we can go ahead and reference options. And that's going to have all the options for the slash command. And then I can go ahead and call the getChannel method. And this is going to allow us to provide the name of the option. So the name of our option was channel. So we're just going to pass in that. And this is just going to give you the actual channel object itself. Okay, now by default, since we're using TypeScript, it's just going to return as, I guess, a base channel. So it's not going to actually give us the actual guild-based text channel. So we can just cast it as a guild-based or guild text-based channel, like this. And the reason why we have to do this is because if we don't, we won't be able to actually call the correct methods on the guild text channel or reference the correct properties, because TypeScript treats this as a regular base channel and not a text-based channel. Okay, so let's just assign this to a variable. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and reference the channel, and I can call the methods like send, I can call edit, etc., etc. Whereas if I did not cast it, I could only do channel.id. I can only reference the ID name and a bunch of other methods that aren't really useful for us. So that's why we need to cast that. But of course, if you're using JavaScript, you don't have to really worry about this. Okay. So now what we want to do is we just want to call channel.send, and we want to send a message, all right? And you can send whatever you want. You can send an embed message if you want to. So go ahead and send an embed message. And I'll just use the embed builder. So new embed builder. And I'll set the description, and I'll say, welcome to the server. Please authorize yourself by clicking on the verify button below. You will be granted access afterwards. Okay, so you can have a generic message like this if you want to. You can set the color of the embed. I'll just set it to a regular, let's do maybe navy. And you can also set the title of this as well. You could do welcome. Let me see if I could do this. Welcome to, and then interaction.guild.name. Something like that. Okay. And yeah, you can play around with the embed builder if you want to, but I'm just going to leave it like this because the most important thing that we need is the components, right? And we need the button. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's create a new instance of action row builder, because buttons need to belong in an action row, and we can use the action row builder class to build it out for us. And just remember that every single class that we're working with, every single enum that we're working with is always going to be imported from the Discord.js library up top over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So new action row builder, we'll set the components, and we just want to pass in an instance of button builder, which is going to be imported up top over here. Visual Studio Code auto imports it for me. Figured I'd mention that in case you all are confused, in case you get any reference issues, but just make sure you are importing it, okay? So let's go ahead and set the custom ID to verify member. And you want to set it to something that you can reference later, and it should be unique because you can have multiple different buttons, right? And the way to determine which button the user clicked on is by checking the custom ID. Okay, so we need to set the custom ID. We need to set the label. So I'll call this verify. We need to also set the style. So I'll import the button style enum, and I'll reference, let's do primary. And if you want to set an emoji, you can set emoji. And we can go ahead and just grab an emoji from Discord. You can use whatever Unicode emoji you want to. So for example, if you want to use the checkmark emoji, so let me show you checkmark, right? So just take this, copy this, and then do a backward slash, paste that, paste whatever you just copied, right? And if you hit enter, it's gonna look like that. And you can just copy that, and you just paste it like this. Okay, and then since we're using TypeScript and action rule builder is a generic, we have to specify the type. So we'll just pass in button builder like this. Otherwise, it's going to complain about the type. But if you're using JavaScript, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so we're pretty much done with sending the message. Let's go ahead and test out our code. So let's go ahead and use this command. So let's do /setup, and then you want to obviously have a welcome page, right? So before we even continue, the way that this is going to work is you're supposed to have permissions configured on your server. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is we'll create a simple welcome channel, and basically everyone that first joins will see this channel. Okay, and they will not be able to see all of the other private channels. Okay, now in order for that to work, you need to have some kind of role. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do this. I'll create a role called member, or I'll just say verified, and we'll give it a blue color. Okay, and basically this role is supposed to have permissions such as view channel and send messages, right? These are the two important messages. These are the two important permissions. You can configure whichever permissions you want, but these are the two main ones. Okay, and you can also set the category to be a private one, so that way only certain members, certain roles can have access to it, or certain members, right? So for example, I can go ahead and set this to a private category, and I can also add members or roles, and I can say verified, and now only verified can see it. But really all it does is it just really just disables the everyone rule from seeing the channel, right? That's really one of the main things that it does, if you think about it. Because, for example, I can literally just delete this category, and I can just delete every single channel, right? Let me just do that. And I can just create a new category. Let's just do general. And I can just make this a private category. And I can select the role that I want, the role that I want to be able to access this category, and all the channels inside of it. And if you just look at the permissions, right, all it really does is it just configures the permissions for you, right? And of course, it'll have like the send messages permission set to neutral, which means that they'll be able to still send messages to the channel as long as they don't have a role where that permission is disabled. Okay, as long as it doesn't override that. So you can do something like that. Okay, and if I were to create a new channel inside of here, the permissions will synchronize, right? So I'll create a general channel. And you can see that since I just created this channel, the permissions will sync with this category channel. Okay, and you can see on the right hand side, no one can actually see this channel, otherwise their names would be listed over here. So one more thing that I'll do is let me just edit this category, and I want to make it so that the bot can actually see this channel. Okay, but this is just something that I would mention because it's also very important that you configure the permissions on your server as well. Okay, so you can see that this is the welcome channel. So let's go ahead and set this up. So what we'll do is we'll do /setup. We'll send the message to the welcome channel. Okay, and you're going to see that it's going to send a message, and it's going to say welcome to undefined. I'm not sure why this is undefined. Oh, you know why? It's because we are referencing interaction.guild.name, but we're not actually caching the guilds, so we need to enable intents for this to work. So I'm going to import gateway intent bits, and I'm going to reference guild like that. And gateway intent bits is going to be imported from the Discord.js package. And this is just going to allow us to opt into the guild intent, which means that we'll, one, receive guild events, and two, Discord JS will also take care of caching guilds into memory. So now if I were to delete this message, and I'm going to send this message again, you can see that now it says welcome to the name of the server. Okay, so now that we have this welcome channel, the users just need to click on this button, and then they will receive the verified role, and then they'll be able to actually get access to this channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and handle the interaction. So what we're going to do is we need to handle the case where the interaction is a button interaction. So how do we do that? Well, we already handled the interaction when it's a chat command. So we wrote an if case over here. Let's go ahead and extend this if case with an else if afterwards. And we'll check to see if the interaction is a button interaction by calling the isButton method. And what we'll do is if it is a button interaction, we want to check what the custom ID is. So you can think of the custom ID as like the command name for a chat input command. So I'll use a switch case. And for the condition, that'll just be the custom ID. And for the case, it'll just be the ID of the button, which will be verify member. So case verify member. Like that. Cool. And let me also just add a break right over here. Whoops. Okay. So let's just go ahead and write a console log verifying member, and we just need to perform a couple of operations before we continue. So what we need to do is we need to, one, get the role that we want to assign to the user, and then assign that role to the user. And as soon as we do that, the user will be able to see the entire the private channels. Okay, so let's just go ahead and just not react, but click on this, and if we look at the logs, we can see that it does log verify member, which means that we are in our else if branch, which is good, which means that we're hitting the correct case. So let's go ahead and get the role. So I'm just going to go ahead and just copy the role ID verified. Okay, and you can do this too if you want to. If you want to have a more advanced setup, you can save a configuration to a database. We're not going to do that in this video. But what I would suggest you do is you could go ahead and have like a one-time setup command. The administrator has to set the role ID for the verified role. And the bot, or not the bot, but whenever you verify the member, you can just get the verified role ID and just search the guild to see if that role exists. And if it does, assign the role to the member. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just do this. We'll first check to see if the role exists in the guild. So do const role equals interaction dot guild dot roles dot cache get, and then I'll pass in the ID of the role. So now you can see that this question mark appeared over here, and basically what this means is if the guild is possibly null, then it will not try to reference roles. It won't even do anything. It'll just stop. Okay, and it will just return null and assign it to the role. Okay, but I know that guild will be defined because we are opted into intents. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do that. I'm just going to add the exclamation mark, which means that we know that this will be defined. Okay, and but that doesn't mean that the role does exist though. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to check to see if the role does exist. Okay, so if there's no role, I'll just simply write a console log and say role does not exist. And if it does exist, then we will assign the role to the user. And if the role exists, the way that we assign the role to the user is very simple. We just do interaction.member roles. Oh, what's going on over here? Okay, I know what the problem is. I'm going to go ahead and cast this member object as a guild member real quick. So let me do this. Const member equals interaction.member as guild member. And this is going to be imported from the Discord JS library over here. And it's saying that this is possibly null, but it shouldn't be because we have intents enabled, and it's going to cache it. And all we have to do is just do member.roles.cache not cache, dot add, and we just pass in the role like that. Okay, and then I'll just await. Whoops, we have to also. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to use async await. What I'll do is if it successfully added the role to the user, I'll just write a console log. Actually, I'll just reply to the interaction, and I'll say interaction.reply, and I'll just say the role was assigned to you, and I'll just set the message to ephemeral so only the user can see it. And if anything fails, we will just reply to the interaction and say something went wrong. The role was, we'll just say this, something went wrong. Okay, so yeah, this will handle the promise for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. And so let's see if our bot restarted. Okay, so right now I don't have the verified role, but if I click here, it's going to say that the verified role was assigned to me, and I can see that I have the role. Okay, now obviously one additional thing that you should do is you should make it so that people who are verified cannot see this channel. So go over to the permissions for this channel and make it so that the verified role cannot see this channel and they cannot send messages. And once that's the case, just to test this out, instead of having to go on another account to test this out, I'll just go ahead and assign one of my bots the verified role, and you'll see that their name disappears because once they receive the role, they cannot see this welcome channel, and you can see that they can actually see the private channel. So that is pretty much how you can create a very simple verification channel on your Discord server. So thank you for watching. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Join my Discord server if you need any additional help. And until then, I'll see you all in my next video. Peace out.